Good morning. I've come down to Sheerness this morning to drop off a boat outboard at the boat centre on the other side of the road there. But while I was down here, it's quite interesting to know that out in the Thames estuary there is a sunken warship that was sunken in 1944. The ship's called the SS Richard Montgomery, and she was carrying 1,400 tonnes of unexploded ordnance and bombs and bullets when she went down in the estuary there. Now, most experts would suggest that should the bombs go off that have been down there for over 70 years now, and as you can imagine the salt water corrodes metal, it will create a 14-foot tsunami that could flood both sides of the Thames estuary. So that would affect the Essex side as well as the Kent side, and it would flood the whole of these low-lying lands here. And this is a major problem, but it's one that can't be resolved very easily. So I'm off now. My name's Paul McKinley. I'm the Managing Director and Executive Trustee of Eco MMC Limited and the owner of campportugal.com. So a little bit of history about myself now. I'm a building surveyor. I have a Bachelor in Science with Honours degree in building surveying. I'm a Chartered Construction Manager, and I was a finalist in both the Energy Awards and the Lloyds Bank British Business Excellence Awards for the most positive social impact, and also for the most new intuitive product award of the year for the Energy Awards. Those products were ESG Impact Investment Awards. So that was for environmental, social and corporate governance. This is a method of using impact finance for the provision of MMC housing, particularly in social housing, and how pension providers can become a partner with the housing association or local authority to provide housing on a rent capped basis linked to local authority rent rates. Because the investments are over 30 years, it's ideal for a pension provider, and as such, take up on this has been quite good. It has been mentioned at COP26 with Mark Carney, and the European Central Bank, the World Bank and other banks and governments around the world are fully aware of it. I won an award for it at Hyde Housing, and they implemented one of the funding models. They raised £250 million in impact finance, which was matched by the pension provider that they was in business with. That provided 50,000 houses for social rent. On top of that, Lloyds Bank also adopted one of the proposals, and they've implemented theirs as well, and that has provided an additional 50,000 houses for social rent in the UK, totaling 100,000 houses. After creating the funding models, I went about writing 4 volumes of a book called Green Pension Funding, which is available for purchase on Amazon. These books detail for each nation around the world how to address their homeless situations whilst providing charitable funding for any charity, as well as the housing, infrastructure, hospitals, schools, and any kind of roads, bullet trains, anything that the nation needs that can be classified as decarbonisation of existing assets or implementation of new assets, systems and income streams which are green by nature, ergo reducing carbon emissions and obviously having a beneficial effect on climate change. I'm the owner of 2 companies. One is called campportugal.com and the other one is Eco MMC Limited. Camp Portugal is the training camp and team working site in Portugal for networking and for building better team relationships. The Eco MMC part of the businesses that I run is the technical division that deals with the ESG impact funding solutions for the housing, but it also provides training and development and lecturing and mentoring and coaching for surveying staff and housing professionals dealing specifically with complaints, ombudsman, MP or general complaints, and implementation of processes and strategies to reduce time delays and to effect a better outcome in order to reduce the amount of complaints and obviously to assist the surveyors in the delivery of their work. As far as the surveyors and the processing of complaints go, there are structures and processes that you can use to accelerate your performance. These techniques I've been using for 22 years, and my success rate in dealing with complaints is 100%. There were no complaints that I couldn't resolve. Some escalated over time just purely because that's the nature of the beast, and there's nothing you can do with that. It's not a failure, it's just obviously things develop on site and you can't always manage it 100%. Residents clash with trades personnel don't show up, or they double book, or they cancel at the last minute, or there's some kind of external issue that creates the problem to escalate even further. But there are techniques for surveyors to prevent that and to manage it correctly. I was a temporary surveyor for many years, going from agency to agency on different housing associations and councils. So I'm used to walking in and having a whole pile of work sitting there on the desk. Cases I've never been involved with, obviously, because I never worked for the company before. You can walk into a minefield where you're picking up historical stuff that somebody else should have dealt with but didn't. And that's obviously an aggravating factor, because at the end of the day, the resident is the poor person who has to wait for all these things to happen. Now, if you feel like it takes forever to resolve the backlog of complaints, you need to look at it from a different perspective. You need to sort through the complaints, work out what can be dealt with quickly and what needs more processing and management. Once you've separated these two tranches of works out, then you can put in a management position and a structure and roadmap so that you can deliver a better outcome. And this is part of the training that I'm offering to the surveyors, based on my experience and successful outcomes that I've achieved in the complaints team over my 22 years period as a surveyor for local authorities and councils. One of the main ingredients for a successful outcome is a robust time management process. Now, this has to be taken back down to the fundamentals. You need to look at your diaries, you need to look at what you're doing, you need to see if you can do it better. Do you need to drive to site and waste an hour driving there and an hour back? Sometimes you do, sometimes you do not. Sometimes you can send a contractor or a professional expert who's already employed from the company to do the work for you. So an example of this would be a roofing report. I don't need to go down to site to look at a roof myself. The contractor is either on a price per property or an SOR code, and they can go down and provide me and furnish me with that report. It's not that I haven't actioned anything on the job or progressed it. I have, because I've initiated the reports. And in certain circumstances, you can walk into a property and it's quite easy that there's 3 different external consultants. Some are not your day-to-day contractor, some are literally external consultants, and you need to book those in. The issues relating to the requirements under the Ombudsman inquiries and complaint processes now for 10-day turnarounds on complaint is sometimes unachievable. However, in a third, 40–50% of the cases, this is an achievable target too. And if you are on top of your patch and obviously on top of your contractor, then there are ways to manage that to ensure that that 10-day target is not just achieved but is beaten, and that will give you good credit and status within the company, and also it will start to develop you as the go-to person for the resolution of complaints and successful outcomes. But it is time management, it is processes, time management, and how you change what you're doing. So all of the things that I've discussed so far are achievable through a workflow formula for surveyors. First of all, you deal with the increased mindfulness. So how to remove negative energy from not just the surveyor but from the situations that they'll be walking into. This will increase the surveyors or the housing professionals' morale. This then creates a better output of work once there are management and time management processes put into place. It will decrease the amount of complaints, because obviously the day-to-day inspections turn into complaints if they're not dealt with. So it will show you how to balance both out so that you are not creating any more problems than you are attempting to resolve. This will give you improved outcomes. Now, this will bear out in your statistics. As I said, you will be the go-to person for the complaints. Once you've successfully dealt with a resident's complaint, they will not want anybody else but you to go there. I know this from experience, and it does cause problems in the team, but if everybody's working the same, then it shouldn't cause any problems at all, because everybody will work in the same way.